All right, so let's begin. Um, Emma's journey with Wildlife SOS started exactly 1 month ago when we rescued her from a life of abuse, pain, and a life that had really overburdened her. Our rescue team undertook a journey of over 2,000 kilometers, that's about 1,300 miles in total, to get Emma to safety from where she was to the Wildlife SOS Elephant Hospital and start her healing journey. Today, as we speak about Emma and how she's settling into her new surroundings, we are celebrating her first month of freedom with us at Wildlife SOS. Before I go on, I'd also like to say that there might be a few photos where we are showing things that we found in her feet and stuff like that. And if it's not nice, um, I would urge you to not look away because it's important for you to understand what we have to deal with and what these elephants have to deal with every single day. So I would urge you to please listen to the entire presentation, watch everything so you can be our ambassadors. You can be Emma's ambassadors and ambassadors for the elephants and get this message out to other people and help more elephants as we move forward. So I'd like to tell you a little bit about Emma's story. For 40 years, Emma has had nothing but an exhausting routine. And she's been used for processions. She was walked on unnatural surfaces, the hot tar roads, and of course, it tore into her delicate footpads. Emma did not know what resting was, and I think it just drove her to a breaking point. She was even force fed liquor and alcohol by her owners and her caretakers so that she wouldn't know the pain and she could continue to be worked. Of course, that was putting her at risk and putting other people around her at risk as well. And some of the other things that really were bad with her was that she had a metal ring pierced into her ears, and then they would use the bull hook, which would get hooked into that ring. And you can see right at the edge of her ear over here on this photo where the ring is. And this is where the bull hook would get hooked in and then it would get pulled to cause more pain. And that was one way to control her with pain. Of course, you can imagine what a bull hook does to an elephant. Every time she was tired, she couldn't walk, she was smashed on her head with the bull hook. Her delicate footpads were constantly collecting more and more rubble to a point which I'll tell you much later. But eventually, when the forest department, the regulatory authorities in India, in that state, found out about Emma's condition, they immediately took action on the owner. And then they contacted Wildlife SOS to step in and help Emma. Emma was then eventually moved to the Wildlife SOS Elephant Hospital for long-term medical treatment. So I'm now going to go on and tell you how we did this whole process and how we managed to get Emma to where she is now. So moving on, what you see here are photos of Emma's feet. As you can see, her footpads are torn, cracked. You can see the visible inflammation in her ankle around her toenails, which shows the really deplorable condition of her legs. Obviously, later on, I will show you another photo where we actually have recovered pieces of glass, rusted metal nails, really long ones, lots of pebbles and other foreign bodies from inside her footpad, embedded quite deeply. Her overgrown toenails and cuticles also show that she had never received any kind of foot care in her life. And you can also see the serious condition of her feet over here in the photo on your left side. You can see that she wasn't even, her legs are bent, she couldn't support herself, and she was in a lot of trauma as we found her. She wasn't able to put her feet down and she would move from one foot to another just to balance that pain out. So as we move forward, I'd like to also say, shout out a big thank you to all the people who've helped us make Emma's rescue possible. And I'd also like to briefly mention that each and every one of you here and more have helped us make a difference to our life. And I hope we can continue to all support Emma's care. So it's great if people can jump on and become a monthly supporter for supporting the ongoing care of Emma. I'll now briefly touch upon Emma's life before we rescued her. Like I said, you can see on the photo on the left the bullhook, which is sharp, really pointed thing, and a hook itself, which would go into the ring. And you can see on this ear, there's a tear that was where another ring existed. And when the man must have yanked that ring, it probably tore through her ear, and you can see the tear on this. And on the photo on the right, you can see her hopping from one foot to another. So this is how she suffered from pain. She couldn't even stop to rest, pause, and she just walked and walked and walked, trying to make a quick buck for the people that used to exploit her. Moving on, when we received a call from the forest department saying we need to get there and get this elephant off that situation. This was the condition that the forest department found her in, but she had already collapsed, and we were worried it was going to be too late. And that's when the forest department approached us and said, would you be willing to come and help us with this elephant? And then, of course, the paperwork was all done, but it was time for us to send an ambulance. And of course, that means we've got to prepare the ambulance. So this is the preparation that was involved in getting the ambulance ready. Of course, we're all in the midst of this COVID pandemic, and that means you've got to sanitize everything. And so that was step one for us, getting the ambulance ready to send to bring Emma back. And that was step one for us. And of course, no journey in northern India can be completed in the dead of winter without ensuring that you have warm clothing for the staff, for the elephant. And as you can see on the photo on the left, this is one of our elephant care staff preparing, getting his warm blankets and jacket for Emma, knowing the kind of journey we would have to entail bringing her back. We also had to pack a lot of sugarcane so she could have some juicy snacks on the way back. Now, the other important part of getting the ambulance ready to bring Emma back was to make sure that we had the medical equipment and the medicines that we needed for preparing Emma for that journey. And that meant we had to carry a portable x-ray, a portable laser therapy machine, and of course a lot of medication. And these photos here are of our veterinary doctor who went on that journey in the ambulance to bring Emma back, walking out of the hospital. And we took this photo just as he was walking into the ambulance from the hospital with all the equipment that was needed to bring Emma back safely. And the photo on the right is a photo of the inside of the cabin in the ambulance, which overlooks the elephant enclosure, which is also a part of the ambulance, where the doctors and the elephant care team can provide treatment to the elephant right from there, just across a little barrier. We knew we had to deal with her deteriorating foot condition, and we had to deal with this. We also knew that it was going to be very, very cold on that truck bringing Emma back, and it would be probably 0 or minus 1 or 2 degrees Celsius, and that's quite cold for a North Indian winter. And we had to ensure that we could keep her warm, hydrated, and safe and comfortable during that journey. In the meantime, we also couldn't take any chances. We had to send an advance team by plane. We flew them to the location where Emma was, and this is our other senior deputy director of the veterinary services who went on in advance a couple of days before the ambulance departed to prepare Emma and start her healing process. And he had to not just get there and start the treatment, but he had to check the treatment. And he was absolutely shocked when he saw the condition of her feet. And he, in fact, said that we had to immediately intervene and fix this. Otherwise, she could even become permanently lame and lose the use of her forelimbs. So we were really worried about her bruised foot pads. At this point of time, we just had to somehow ensure that she could get well enough to prepare her for the journey so she could make that journey with us and the ambulance. So, parallelly, we had two teams working. One team was already with her, treating her, getting her ready to get in the ambulance, and another team was coming in the ambulance to come and rescue her and bring her to safety. Now, the initial examination of her foot already revealed to us that there were many, many foreign bodies, and this was just pieces of glass, shreds of metal, shrapnel, and other foreign bodies that we found inside her foot, embedded deep inside her delicate footpad. And it really broke our hearts, and we were really worried that what was going to be the situation when we actually did an x-ray and found there was probably more stuff sitting in there. But during the extractions, Emma was flinching, but she allowed us to treat her. And we, of course, we were bribing her with apples and bananas and cabbages and cauliflowers, which she liked. And she showed remarkable strength during these painful extractions, because you can imagine, I mean, it's painful for us if you have to remove a little thorn, but imagine these huge pieces of metal and glass that had to be taken out of her feet. And it was a moving experience for our team. And once the first round of extractions were done, we started applying a paste of glycerin, antiseptic, and of course, turmeric, which works very well as a local healing medicine as well. We also had to ensure she didn't get maggots, and she got a bit of relief so she could do the journey with us. What you see here is the bribing going on. This is one of our elephant care staff who's giving her lots of apples and other fruits so the extraction should continue. And our vet was at the other end, under her foot, pulling out the pieces of glass and metal. And then, of course, we were able to give her a foot bath, as you can see in the blue tub. So we had to make do with what we could arrange in the middle of nowhere. So we managed to get a tub, got the antiseptic lotions in, and we were able to carve one out of a local drum from one of the residents in the local area. And it's really important that we had to heat the water, make sure it was boiled, and then bring it down to the right temperature for Emma, and then use Epsom salts to make sure that we could help her get some relief from the pain and discomfort that she was suffering in her feet. You see this video of the ambulance driving while our team was getting her ready. This was the ambulance that had already left from the elephant hospital. This ambulance was driving, it was braving fog, long nights. We had three drivers taking turns so that they wouldn't have to stop anywhere for anything longer than, maybe a pit stop to grab some food and use the loo, but they were just constantly moving forward so they could reach Emma as quickly as possible. And then, of course, her journey started. And you can see on the photo on the left, Emma, when she was finally in the ambulance, ready to go on the journey. And I must tell you about that as well. We reached Emma in a record 30 hours, because it would have taken us probably 40 to 45 hours to reach that location. But because we didn't stop and we just went on and on, we were able to get there in a much, much shorter time. And we were really concerned that Emma might not really be happy to get in the ambulance, because she had never been on a truck ever all her life. And we were scared that the vehicle, the presence of the ambulance might make her nervous. She might not really come in. And some elephants can take hours or days sometimes for an elephant to get comfortable with an ambulance and eventually get in. But thankfully, I mean, she was really brave. She surprised us, and she just walked right in. We were able to get the ramp, and thankfully, we have a state of the art elephant ambulance that addresses all the needs of an elephant in distress. So we were able to get the ramp to the same level as the ground. So she was able to climb right in without having to go into an elevation, and it really made a huge difference. And once she was inside the ambulance, we were able to stabilize her, get her comfortable. We had a bed of soft grass on the floor for her, and of course, lots of juicy snacks. And our doctor was starting the treatments right away. This is a photo that you can see. Our vets on the are already in the journey inside the ambulance, already giving her treatment. So we didn't have to wait for us to stop or reach the hospital to make sure that she could, take care, and she could be given pain management medication. She was in a lot of pain. There was no question about that. But we had to make it comfortable for her so she could manage and endure that journey and make it as pain free, as comfortable as possible for her. So while she was distracted by sugar canes, cabbage, apples, so we would quietly sneak in some medication to make sure that she was getting treated all along. And she also ensured, we also had to ensure that she had blankets and jackets to make sure she was warm, and the cold wouldn't impact her at all. As you can see, she had an abscess on the hip that she developed from lying on concrete floors all her life, or on the side of streets, and that was something that we had to deal with almost immediately. So before continuing further, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank and appreciate the team that went from Wildlife SOS and traveled through 2 nights away from their families on New Year's Eve. And all of you know, I mean, to get people to go and do work for 2 or 3 days from the 31st to the 2nd on New Year's Eve is not easy. But our team did not flinch when we told them that they had to leave on the 31st of December and be away from their families to help Emma. And so, a really heartfelt thanks to our team, Dr. Ilya Raja, our Deputy Director, Veterinary Services, Dr. Pramod, one of our senior veterinarians, and our entire elephant care team. And of course, Mahima, who also went on this journey. They've all really spent so much time on the road to get this elephant back to safety. And a big shout out to our veteran drivers, three of the drivers who took turns round the clock, resting just between the driver's seat and inside the cabin to make sure that we could keep that speed going so we could get to Emma quickly and bring her back to safety. Also, our documentation officers who helped us document the entire journey so that we could share it all with all of you and create a protocol for future rescues of other elephants as well. And lastly, I'd like to thank all of you for making this rescue effort possible. It absolutely wouldn't have been possible without our donors, because it's our monthly donors and people who made a contribution to help Emma that made it possible for us to go in and rescue this elephant. So once again, I'd like to thank everybody and also ask you to become a monthly donor of Emma if you already haven't been a part of Emma's Freedom Team. And finally, no journey in India is ever complete without multiple pit stops, especially if you have an elephant as precious cargo. So our team had to stop, of course, to fix the vehicle, to check the vehicle, fix fog lights, keep themselves warm. But most importantly, we were stopping frequently to ensure that Emma was comfortable and her blankets weren't moving off, because she was very mischievous as well, and she would yank and tug and move things around. So we had to make sure she was safe from the cold winds that were blowing, make sure she was warm, comfortable, she had enough snacks to keep her distracted and occupied, and make sure that our team could also stay warm and have copious amounts of tea every time they would they would stop. We had to stop at other places as well. And you'd be wondering what we're doing over here with bundles of straw. So this was both for food, buying fresh food for Emma, but these bales of hay that you see was to make sure that we had a nice cushioned surface below Emma's feet. Of course, she was messing it all up quite frequently. So we'd stop, pull out, brush out all the old stuff, and then put in fresh hay. So she would have fresh, clean hay to stand on and rest in the truck during the journey. And we would stop, and the local residents would be helpful. They'd help us find the fodder and the fresh hay for her every time we'd stop, because they'd be very intrigued by seeing this elephant ambulance, and especially when they'd see Emma's trunk come out of the top, curiously trying to sniff out her surroundings. And here's a night stop we had to make to collect some fresh sugarcane for Emma because she needed it, and there's nothing that we would spare, no trouble that we would spare to ensure that we couldn't get her what she needed. And this was our team who went out in the middle of the night to a sugarcane field and managed to find some fresh sugarcane for her. So this was our midnight stop to get her sugarcane. Talk about an elephant getting pampered. Yes, indeed. And of course, as we got closer, I think Emma started showing signs of a little bit of irritation. She was like, "Excuse me, are we there yet? How much longer is this going to take?" And so we started, getting closer and closer, and we started seeing signs of a trunk getting more and more curious, waving out, sniffing the surroundings. And I think maybe she got a sense of where we were at and what direction we were going in. So as we came close to the elephant hospital, we were all really excited because Emma was lifting her trunk out at every opportunity, and a lot of people would see that and get surprised. We also had lots of fresh fruit, fresh water, and that's one of the things I probably missed mentioning, that we have a inbuilt tank in the elephant ambulance, so we could give the elephant fresh water constantly, and that was one of the things that we used to make sure she was hydrated throughout the journey. And this is the image that we took, a photo that we took as Emma took her first two steps off the ambulance into her life of freedom at the elephant hospital at the Wildlife SOS Elephant Hospital in Mathura. And she was very cautious, of course, like any elephant. She was very timid, and she carefully got off the ambulance. And of course, our elephant care team was able to guide her, and we were able to move all the stones because we know she was really having a tough time with those delicate footpads, and we wanted to make sure she didn't have to, suffer any more pain. And she hadn't rested in over 40 hours because we couldn't get her off the truck to let her lie down. So it was imperative that we let her get into the hospital and rest on the soft, cushioned rubber matting that we have in the hospital. Again, thanks to donors who generously helped us make that possible. And our team had made Haitian sacks filled with soft straw as pillows for her so she could have a nice nap. And this is where she was going to be for her treatment. And there you see Emma lying on the rubber matting inside the hospital. You can see the pillows that she's using, just like you and I, as we use pillows at night. She immediately, the minute she got into the hospital and she saw the pillows over there, and she just lay down and started resting. And it was such a delight, very emotional for all of us. It was a delight to see how she was comfortable. And of course, you can see our caregiver, elephant caregiver in the photo, who's comforting her, letting her relax. And what you see also just behind Emma in that photo is the Wall of Dreams, which shows that Wildlife SOS is able to provide this care to Emma because of the people who donated to the Wall of Dreams and made it possible for us to create this hospital with the rubber flooring that this elephant is now able to comfortably sleep on. Of course, those pillows didn't last for very long, I must confess. She took great delight in ripping them apart and excavating the insides of those pillows. So we have to keep making new pillows for Emma regularly. Now this is a video of the extractions that our vets had to do, because we took an X-ray of her feet and we found that there were many more foreign bodies embedded deep inside Emma's delicate foot pads. And so we had done a series of extractions and we found rusted nails, pieces of glass, shrapnel, everything you could think of, pebbles, big rocks. And some of them had gone all the way to her bone, causing necrosis. And it's going to take a long time for her to recover. But at least we've ensured now that no more foreign bodies are there, and we've been able to take out all of those bodies. You can see the video over here. And it was a painful procedure to even watch, but she was a absolute darling because she allowed the vets to do the extractions peacefully. Of course, we conditioned her and constantly fed her delicious things that she liked: apples, bananas, cabbages, cauliflowers, that she's taken quite a liking to. And the minute the treatment was over, we do that to ensure that no elephant ever thinks that the treatment is a painful procedure. We want them to associate the treatment with a lot of treats. So they start looking forward to cooperating with any medical intervention that needs to be done, and they see it as an enjoyable exercise, something that gives them a lot of treats and enjoyment. And of course, what you see here is a medical mixture that our veterinary doctors calibrated to insert into those openings, because we wanted to make sure that those openings would not let any further foreign bodies in, and make sure that there was antiseptic mixture as well in this to help her recover as quickly as possible. A lot of people asked us about Emma's recovery and how long it's going to take and what kind of a timeline we have for her healing. But you can see from the photos on this slide on the screen how Emma is so much at peace, just sleeping on the floor inside the hospital, of course, on the rubber matting, and using her pillows, now replaced with new pillows many more times. But Emma suffered so much. I mean, she came to us in such a deplorable condition. Her forelimbs suffer from severe osteoarthritis. She's already developing arthritis in her hind limbs as well due to compensatory weight bearing, which elephants tend to do. She also has a lot of pain issues, joint issues, and so we are doing constantly, dosing her with medication for pain management, joint strengthening, medication to address her osteoarthritis, her arthritis, and of course, a lot of intensive foot care, because she needs medicated foot baths almost on a daily basis to ensure that those feet start healing and that healing journey continues. We've got to cover the foot pad with boots that are specially made for elephants, and she gets a laser therapy massage on a daily basis from our veterinarians for her arthritis. These are just her physical wounds, for which she will require a long time to heal, and it'll take a long time for her to recover or show some semblance of recovery. So she is in here for the long haul, a long-term medical treatment. Her experience with humans, I think, on the other hand, would have caused her a lot of mental trauma. and made her extremely anxious to new, unfamiliar faces. And she does startle easily, she gets scared easily, she gets intimidated easily, which is why we also need to ensure that her psychological situation is also addressed. And we are addressing it on a daily basis by making sure we speak to her with very soft tones, very sweetly. Nobody speaks loudly to her. We try and avoid making any loud noises, any clanging, etc. And we make sure that she is at peace. And she is such a semblance of peace when you see the way her sweet face, she has such a sweet face. And to see her resting like this really makes you feel that all this effort of what Wildlife SOS has been doing, for the last 2, 3 decades is worth it. Just as one photo is worth all the pain and the effort that we've been putting in to make the elephant hospital become a dream, become a reality, and to make sure that we can get elephants like Emma who are in distress, to safety. So, of course, this again wouldn't have been possible without all of you. And you can continue supporting Emma as she recuperates at the Elephant Hospital by joining our Elephant Freedom team as a monthly donor. And again, here, I'd like to show you the stark difference of Emma's before and after. The photo on the left is her before photo where she was abused every single day with a bullhook, being yanked on her ears, being smashed into her forehead, and not being able to put her feet down and constantly hopping from one foot to another because she was walking on hot tarmac. She had all these foreign bodies embedded in her feet and she was in utter pain. And you can also see this is Emma on the right, the after photo where she is resting peacefully at the Wildlife SOS Elephant Conservation and Care Center. She loves her long naps, and all we are happy to offer her is tons of rest, lots of sleep, and lots of peace. And she has never had a chance, I think, to sleep on soft grass and on soft floors, which is why she has abrasions on her hip, which are under treatment at the moment. And we are so glad that we were able to reach Emma on time, or else she could have possibly not even survived. And you can see in this video Emma just relaxing. Her trunk moves gently as she smells the grass, but she is in such peace. And she's such an image of peace and tranquility to my eyes. And this is on the riverbank, right next to the river. And some of you who probably come with us on the founders tour to Wildlife SOS or have visited the elephant hospital probably know that it's located right next to the river Yamuna. And we were supposed to take her for regular walks, but she uses every opportunity and seizes the opportunity to lie down and take a quick nap. But it shows how exhausted she is, how much she's been deprived of just rest, and how the treatment and the new surroundings are really giving her the much needed relief that she needs. Of course, this was Emma's first excursion to the woods, and she is a very curious explorer. And of course, she does everything very gently because of her weak condition, but we make sure she's pampered, well taken care of, and her gait is impacted because of her affected limbs, as you can imagine. But she actively navigates her surroundings using her trunk. She loves to munch on tender branches, and she'll promptly break off a branch and chomp on it. And she loves roots, shrubs, branches, and sometimes even thorny bushes. And I wonder how she manages to navigate that, but it doesn't seem to bother an elephant with those giant molars that they have. So here's Emma's first walk to the riverside when we took her. Like I mentioned, she uses every opportunity to lie down and get in a nap when she can. I wouldn't blame her. I mean, the scenery is beautiful, the grass is lovely, the weather's great now, and she doesn't ever have to worry about pain or distress. And our elephants enjoy nothing more than running and romping in the water, having a great time. But Emma prefers to just lie down and take a nap. And our elephant care staff have made sure that we've cleaned a lot of the grass off any debris so she can use the soft grass to her advantage. And she loves munching on the fresh green grass, and she just enjoys it so much. Anyway, again, I'd like to point out that this is a part of our expansion project. This is the Field of Dreams, and this is where our center is now going to be another 110 acres larger, and hopefully we will make space for more elephants. And if any of you want to get involved with our expansion project to make the reality for more elephants in distress to be rescued and to be brought back to the Field of Dreams, please reach out to us. Please contact us, and we would love to involve you and make you a part of this whole journey with us. And then, of course, we had to take Emma for her arthritis to the hydrotherapy pool. And she got her first hydrotherapy treatment. And I like to call it the jumbo jacuzzi. It's probably the largest jacuzzi in all of India. And we built this keeping in mind elephants that needed treatment for their arthritis, bad joint condition, and painful foot situations. And not only does a hydrotherapy pool allow the elephants to take their weight off their feet, but it provides them relief at a cellular level as well. And this hydrotherapy pool, I don't think we have a video in this, but we have about 21 high-speed jets inside this hydrotherapy pool. So you can imagine the fun an elephant can have as she's being pummeled by all of these jets to ease the pain on her sore muscles and joints. And Emma was thrilled once she got into the pool. She actually refused to come out when her therapy was over. And the buoyancy of water really helps them because they can literally swim and relax, and they never have to put the weight on their legs. So I can say the hydrotherapy pool was a top like for Emma. She loved it. Oh, there is a video over here. Let's see if it plays. You can't see the jets in this video, but this is her just having fun, I think, blowing out. But the jets are on the other side, in the deeper section of the pool. Maybe in one of our other talks, I can walk you through the hydrotherapy pool. But if you ever visit us on one of our founders' tours, we can treat you to a visit to the hydrotherapy pool as well. And of course, we've got some videos of the hydrotherapy pool on our YouTube channel as well. So please don't miss going to the YouTube channel of Wildlife SOS and subscribing there. So you could also watch those over there. And of course, winters at Wildlife SOS are really quite awesome. And this is Emma's first winter with us. And we, of course, pamper her with blankets and jackets and everything. And as you can see, she didn't spare it for too long, and she messed it up. The elephants mess them up quite quickly, but we have a continuous supply of fresh, warm clothing for the elephants to keep them warm, especially if they are, not doing too well. This was a very important part of Emma's journey with us. So as you can see, the ring that you see on the left side is the ring that was in the ear, and that ring was connected to a bull hook. Every time the rider was wanting her to be prodded or push her faster or make her move faster or make her move quicker, or if she wanted to rest her feet and he didn't want her to stop, then he would hook the bull hook's sharp edge into that ring and yank. And you can imagine the kind of pain that would cause. It's like someone yanking at your earring. And so we had to get that off. We couldn't let her suffer that 1 minute more than we wanted to. So we pulled it out immediately, and this was one of the last symbols of what she has suffered all her life, this ring. And of course, then we welcomed her to a new enclosure at the Elephant Conservation and Care Center. And she is really the master of this enclosure. She owns it. She will never have to wear a ring again. She'll never have to wear bells again. She will never have to be abused or in pain. She can rest when she wants. She can have dust baths when she wants. She can really do anything that she wants. And she now has, you can guess who her new neighbors are. She has none other than Maya and Fulkali as her new neighbors. And this is an important part of her new healing journey, because we've got to gradually let her be introduced to new elephants. She's never had an opportunity to socialize before. So we don't want to, make it too difficult for her. We don't want her overstressed. So we want to take this one step at a time. And as you can see, she's got tons of foliage. These are sugarcane stalks that have been planted and like this across the rest of her enclosure. And she started rumbling softly when she sees this. And she goes from one sugarcane to the next, yanking it out and then dusting it off and then eating it. So we will soon need a new enclosure. And we are full up on our land. We are at capacity completely, and it's really important that we get more land at this stage so that we can help more elephants like Emma. And here you can see Emma is also in her own enclosure getting introduced to new enrichments, new kinds of food, new kinds of fire. This enrichment encourages elephants to stimulate and display natural behavior. So there'll be food items hung at a very high level. So she'll have to use her trunk, go up there and yank the food down. She'll also have to bend down and get it. That will help elephants exercise their neck muscles, their shoulder muscles, trunk, back, etc. In the wild, elephants stretch their trunk and sometimes even stand on 2 feet to pick fruits and leaves off trees or break branches. And it's really important for us to ensure that every elephant in our facility at Wildlife SOS can also do that, can have challenges which will help give them exercise to simulate natural behavior. Of course, we do a lot of target training and positive conditioning, and as all of you probably already know, target training and positive conditioning is really important. This is one of our veterinarians who's target training Emma for medical treatment. So she will willingly associate veterinary treatment and care to treats. And what he's doing here is holding a piece of plastic pipe which she uses as a target, and every time Emma touches the target, she gets a treat. So it gets reinforced. The positive conditioning message is reinforced, and then eventually she will learn to give us her ear. If you need to do a blood draw, to do a blood sample, she'll give her feet if you need to trim her feet and check it for injuries, etc. And this is really very important for managing elephants in captivity so that we can treat elephants and provide them the medical care that they need. And at Wildlife SOS, we never use any negative reinforcement on our elephants. And all we do is provide a kinder, humane method of managing elephants, which is positive reinforcement and conditioning. You might be thinking, what's next in Emma's healing journey? And we've received many queries on this, on her socialization and who she's going to be introduced to. So at present, it's important for all of you to understand that she has a long journey to overcome, both medically, physically, and psychologically. And we've done an assessment. And based on that assessment, we will have to gently decide and observing her behavior as to who she would be a good fit with in terms of making her a part of someone's herd. And she will have to be introduced to one of the herds only gradually and slowly and under careful supervision. So we've got to make sure that because she's too weak, she is so weak that if one of the elephants that we introduce her to, accidentally pushes her over, in an enthusiastic way or out of excitement, then she could break a leg or have a fracture. And we've got to ensure that she is not subject to any further pain or trauma. So we've got to not just observe how she's responding to treatment, but how she's reacting to other elephants, because that's something she's never ever done. And so we've got to do it very carefully. We've started her socialization with Maya and Fulkali, and our team is doing that under observation. And depending on how she reacts, we will then take the next steps here. This is a really important image that I wanted to share with all of you. And it's important for all of you to understand that we are constantly monitoring hundreds and hundreds of elephants in need throughout India. They can be like Emma or even worse. And when we see an opportunity to render support, aid, or mount a rescue operation, we are prepared to act quickly. In just a week, Emma went from suffering hopelessly on the roadside to experiencing her first moments of freedom and compassionate care at the Wildlife SOS Elephant Hospital campus. It's an amazing impact. And it's only thanks to the supporters like you by our side. Unfortunately, our success, success can sometimes be contagious, but it can also be dangerous. Our success has created another problem for us. We've rescued over 35 elephants, and we are honestly running out of space. We've run out of room completely. And we wanted to make the announcement here first. We are really at capacity at the moment, and soon we will unveil plans to expand our campus to care for an additional 60 to 70 elephants. And so if you're in a position to please make a major gift to us to support our expansion efforts, please reach out to us, contact us, email us, message us, or even write into the chat box or the Q&A. And we would love to have you be a part of our expansion plan. Please help us make this dream a reality so we can help more elephants like Emma. And what you see here is the plan that we have. You can see the Elephant Conservation and Care Center over here where the cursor is. And then you can see the Elephant Campus, Elephant Hospital and South Campus, and across the river is the North Campus, which is 110 acres, which is right next to forest land. And that's the land we hope to procure and acquire. And of course, finally, I'd like to mention the Refuse to Ride campaign. As all of you probably already know, Wildlife SOS runs an active awareness campaign that highlights the plight of elephants abused for tourism across India and other countries as well. These elephants are very often illegally poached from the wild as elephant calves, put through a brutal training process where their spirits are broken and then trained to take a tourist on their back. So we request you to please visit our resource website, www.refusetoride.org. Empower yourselves with knowledge and spread the message. Pledge your support to ethical and responsible tourism, and please sign our petition, and please refuse to ride elephants if you really love them. And finally, I'd like to say that Emma will continue to receive intensive medical care and a healthy diet that will help her slowly gain strength. And we'd like to take this time to request each and every one of you to please consider joining our Elephant Freedom team. Even a monthly pledge of as little as $5 or $10 will help us provide that care for Emma, and she really deserves it. Wouldn't you agree? Please consider becoming a sponsor for Emma. It's $840 a year, and if you have that available, please consider that and supporting her journey with Wildlife SOS. And all you need to do is go to give.wildlifesos.org. And once again, I'd like to tell you that this is a breathtaking photo of Emma's eye, and it's as if you can see right through her soul, which was severely neglected. And today she lives a comfortable life and a safe life. She will never be abused again at the Wildlife SOS Elephant Hospital, but she requires continuous treatment for her feet. Her feet will take many, many years to heal, and her psychological recovery could take even longer. If you have any questions, please type it into the chat box. And if you think we missed your question, please just email us on wildside at wildlifesos.org or info at wildlifesos.org with the subject line Emma's webinar, and we will get back to you with the answers. Thank you. And I think we have a few minutes for questions.
Yes, thank you so much, sir, for this. We've received a lot of questions and we'll try to respond to as many as we can. Otherwise, we'll send them through email. We are getting a lot of questions about Emma's feet. If all the fragments have been removed from Emma's feet, and was it painful for her?
Yes, Emma's feet condition, as you can imagine, would have been nothing but painful. However, we ensured that during the extraction process, it was as pain-free as possible by giving her a lot of pain medication, killers, and also distracting her with the apples and the treats that she liked. So we've taken X-rays and we think we've removed every bit of shrapnel and foreign body, but we will continue to monitor feet regularly, and if we find something, then it's got to get out. So yes, it's a continuous process of monitoring, observation, and progress monitoring, and that will continue as long as Emma is with us.
Okay, next question is what actual action is taken against the owners of these elephants, and are they convicted of a crime?
Yes, of course. These owners have been convicted of a crime. I mean, I wouldn't use the word conviction yet. So the process in India for legalese is that they have a case that's been filed on them by the forest department. That case goes to court, and then there will be arguments from both sides. The owner has to prove his innocence, but I think the forest department and the medical reports of Emma will show otherwise, and will be able to prove to the court and to the judges that Emma has been subjected to a lot of abuse. And if that legal process and the prosecution efforts leads to a conviction, then the owner will be convicted, and it could result in jail time for the owner as well. And the Wildlife SOS elephant legal team will continue to support such battles like Emma's. We have many, many cases in court. I think we have over 40 cases in court where we're fighting to protect elephants and keep them safe. So we also have the Elephant Legal Fund that helps us. It's called the Elephant Legal Defense Fund that we have, which helps create a repository of documentation, also resources that helps us get lawyers for supporting elephants in distress.
Okay, next one is how did you manage to get photographs of Emma before the rescue?
Well, we managed to do that because we have informers in the field, and we have informers that are out there gathering intel, valuable intelligence on elephants in distress, and convey those photos to us. We also were able to corroborate those photos with the forestry department and confirm it. We sent a team in advance to go and almost spy on her, get her location, make sure we had all the information necessary to mount a rescue operation that was well planned. And the key to a successful rescue, as all of you will agree, is good planning. And for that, you need good intelligence and proper information and accurate location. So that's how we went about it.
Thank you. What major projects do you have planned for the next few years, and what are the costs for those?
Could you say that again?
What major projects do you have planned for the next few years, and what are the costs for those?
Well, I think we should probably, get you a list of these by email, perhaps. But I would say that the land expansion for our elephant campus is one of our big, big plans. And I think our success would stop at this stage if we did not make room for more elephants that we can make a difference to. So at this stage, like I said, we are at complete capacity. We need to expand and get that additional 110 acres so we can ensure that we can get that room for the additional 60 to 70 elephants that we can rescue. We now have a living, breathing model of an elephant hospital and an elephant conservation and care center, and it would not serve its purpose if it did not continue proving to be a solution for elephants in distress. So that I would say is our number one priority at this stage.
And how long will Emma's psychological problems last?
Psychological problems could last for a very long time, like I said earlier, because she has suffered for a long, long time. I mean, for over 40 years. Being abused for 40 years is like a prisoner of war who's been abused for decades. And I think she is going to take a long time. But what we are doing to help her situation is to be gentle around her, speak softly around her, ensure that there's no clanging, no loud noises, and associate every interaction with her with conditioning. So, the target training, the positive reinforcement, the positive conditioning, taking her for the walks, making sure she has enough rest is all helping to heal. It could take a very long time. But we are in it for the long journey, and we don't want any shortcuts. We will do what it takes to help Emma recover completely.
Thank you. We'll take the last two questions. One is, how do you work with local communities to provide alternate employment for people that use elephants for tourism or other work?
This is a much longer discussion, but wherever we work with people and we collaborate with them, we always try and create an alternative livelihood mechanism. And like we did, when Wildlife SOS started in 1995, that was our big project. We eradicated the practice of dancing bears from across India, the entire subcontinent, by working community that used these bears and exploited them for a livelihood. We were able to provide them alternative livelihood, seed funding, if they surrendered their bears peacefully to the forest department. And that was how we rescued over 628 bears across India. And we were able to establish the same community that abused the bears in running different kinds of livelihoods, running two auto rickshaws, setting up shops, doing small, and they were entrepreneurship skill in them. Similarly, we are trying to find wherever we have elephant care staff or mahouts who are looking after it in a bad way, we try to recruit them if and when we rescue the elephant so they can have another livelihood with us. And we provide them a great deal of protection. We give them medical support, we give them food, good, a decent salary so they can look after their families, and insurance, which they never get when they work out on the street, abusing and exploiting elephants. We're also hopeful that if owners come forward to us, we would help them with a vehicle or something which would give them continuous revenue instead of continuing to abuse an elephant. And that would be much more profitable to the elephant owners if they would work with us and we would give them alternative livelihood in exchange for an elephant. And we would be happy to take that elephant away and provide it a better life and a humane life at that point in time.
Okay, last question. Is there any equipment that you don't have at your elephant hospital that you wish you did so that you could do more for the elephants?
Like I said, I think step one is land expansion. So I think without the land expansion, we wouldn't be able to get more elephants. But perhaps a second ambulance, because at the rate at which we're going, we probably need a second ambulance very, very soon, because this ambulance is already, having a lot of wear and tear for the amount of usage. But yes, there is a long list of equipments that we do need constantly. So perhaps we can send you a list by email, a wish list, and you could see what fits your idea. best. And you're welcome to support us. We would be more than grateful for any support at all. And like I said again, please do consider becoming a monthly donor. Please get involved with our land expansion project and be a part of making this dream a reality. And thank you ever so much for being a part of all this effort to make a difference to India's elephants.
That's all. I think we're out of time now. So, any other questions, everyone can email us. We've written the email in the chat box. It's wildside at wildlifesos.org. We'll get back to you as soon as possible. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. Namaste and bye bye. Stay safe and stay in touch.